There is a civilization that built planned cities with grid layouts, indoor plumbing, standardized weights, and a writing system we still cannot read. They traded with Mesopotamia and Egypt. They had dental surgery. Then, across an area larger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined, they disappeared. 1,500 confirmed archaeological sites are spread across 1.25 million square kilometers. 5 to 6 million people lived in these cities. We know less about how these people organized themselves than almost any major culture in human history. This civilization rivaled Mesopotamia in every metric except one: monumentality. They built no temples, no palaces, no statues of kings. Because of that singular omission, one of history's greatest achievements has been nearly erased from the historical record. The story begins in 1924 when John Marshall announced the discovery of a previously unknown civilization. He had excavated Mohenjo-Daro in Pakistan. Another team dug at Harappa. Marshall wrote that not often has it been given to archaeologists to light upon the remnants of a long-forgotten civilization. The civilization was literally long forgotten. Charles Masson documented Harappa in 1826. Alexander Cunningham visited in 1853 and in 1872, but no one understood what they were looking at. The ruins were dismissed as medieval fortifications. A century of archaeologists walked past this civilization without seeing it. For 100 years, one of the world's largest civilizations sat in plain view, misidentified and invisible. When Marshall and his teams began excavating Mohenjo-Daro in 1922, they found something that did not fit any framework they possessed. The city was planned, not organically evolved. Planned. Every street ran precisely north-south or east-west. The blocks were rectangular and uniform. The buildings aligned to the cardinal directions with geometric precision. The main streets were 9 to 10 meters wide. Secondary streets were 2 to 9 meters wide. There were no temples. There were no palaces. There were no monumental statues. Where was the evidence of hierarchy? Where were the priests? Where was the king? In Egypt, the king's name was inscribed on everything. In Mesopotamia, kings commissioned monuments to legitimize their rule. The Indus Valley cities contained none of this. What they contained instead was something far more unsettling. Evidence of planning on a scale that required centralized coordination without visible centralized authority. Every brick adhered to a single standard ratio, 1 to 2 to 4, height to width to length. Some measured 7 by 14 by 28 centimeters. Others measured 10 by 20 by 40 centimeters. But the ratio never deviated. This standardization was enforced across 1,500 sites, spread over 1.25 million square kilometers. In Egypt, bricks varied by region. In Mesopotamia, brick sizes changed over time. The Indus Valley maintained perfect uniformity. Maintaining that ratio across territory the size of Western Europe requires a centralized production authority. Someone controlled brick manufacture. Someone inspected quality. Someone enforced standards. Yet there is no evidence of who. No royal inscriptions, no administrative records, no architectural glorification of authority. This absence is the central mystery. Mohenjo-Daro covers approximately 260 hectares, divided into sections with administrative buildings and residential quarters. But what strikes me is the residential distribution. Houses varied in size, but not by the gulf that separates peasant from pharaoh. A small house might occupy 50 square meters. A larger house might occupy 400 square meters. They were varied homes within a narrow band of prosperity. Every house had access to water. Every house had private sanitation. This is unprecedented in the Bronze Age. In Egypt, most had no toilets. In Mesopotamia, sanitation was for elites. In the Indus Valley, plumbing was universal. The Great Bath of Mohenjo-Daro measures 12 meters long, 7 meters wide, and descends 2.4 meters below the surrounding pavement. The floor and walls are laid with fine brickwork, sealed with gypsum plaster and bitumen. The bath has been examined for a century, and there is no evidence the water ever leaked. It is the world's oldest confirmed public water tank. But what strikes me is what it reveals. Nearly every house in Mohenjo-Daro contained private toilet facilities with brick-paved floors sloping toward outlets. Waste flowed through terracotta pipes into municipal sewer networks. Modern historians cite Roman plumbing as the pinnacle of ancient engineering, but Rome's sanitation served elite villas. Most Romans were not connected to sewers. The Indus Valley connected entire cities. Municipal drains ran below street level, brick-lined and waterproofed, with inspection holes at regular intervals. Some drains remain intact more than 4,000 years later. The water supply was equally sophisticated. Most houses had private wells and central courtyards. Water flowed through terracotta pipes to bathrooms and kitchens. Roof water was channeled through pipes to street drains. A household could access fresh water, use it, dispose of waste, and do all of this without leaving the house. This was done in the 23rd century before Christ, and it was done with precision. At Mehrgarh in Pakistan, archaeologists found 11 molars with deliberately drilled holes dating between 7,500 and 9,000 years ago. David Freyer called it certainly the first case of drilling a person's teeth in medical history. The drilling shows precision with concentric ridges. Of the 11 teeth, only 4 showed decay, suggesting ritual or status marking functions. People in the Indus Valley were performing surgical procedures on teeth with precision that suggests careful study of human anatomy, thousands of years before any other civilization left evidence of dentistry. The Indus Valley had a writing system. 4,000 objects bear inscriptions. 400 to 600 distinct symbols have been identified. This far exceeds non-linguistic symbol systems. The Indus script was a true writing system, and it has not been deciphered. Over 600 symbols in total. No one can read it. No Rosetta Stone. No bilingual text. Inscriptions average 5 symbols. The longest has 26 symbols. With no long texts, it is impossible to identify grammatical structures. Scholars propose Dravidian, Proto-Indo-European, or other extinct language families. None have been proven. The script weights. The people relied on standardization. Hundreds of cubical weights made of lead or bronze were excavated. Archaeologists examined 558 weights, following a precise binary doubling progression, from 0.86 grams through 16 doublings to 1,200 grams. Nearly all fell within 0.5 to 1% of the expected value. This tolerance was maintained across 500 years. Someone maintained quality control on an unprecedented scale. This was mass manufacture under centralized oversight. Merchants could know with certainty what they were purchasing, and the standardization created trust across distance, allowing trade networks to function without constant verification. The Indus Valley did not use coinage. Trade was barter facilitated by standardized weights. Standardized weights appear at Dilmun, modern Bahrain, which sat between the Indus Valley and Mesopotamia. The weights are identical to Indus Valley weights. They were using the same metric system. Mesopotamian weights from the same period are completely different. Dilmun was economically integrated with the Indus Valley, not Mesopotamia. Evidence of trade with Mesopotamia comes from seals. Indus Valley seals, bearing Harappan script, have been found in Ur, Babylon, and Kish. These are genuine Indus Valley artifacts with distinctive Indus iconography. They were carried there by Indus Valley merchants. In Mesopotamia, seals marked property and authorized transactions. These seals suggest Indus Valley traders had an established presence in Mesopotamian cities. They brought their own seals and used their own systems. Mesopotamian texts describe timber, carnelian, and ivory flowing from the east. Carnelian is abundant in the Indus Valley. Ivory comes from elephants. Cotton textiles became a signature Indus export, deliberately cultivated in quantities far exceeding local needs. Cotton was an important export. Lothal, in Gujarat, India, encapsulates this maritime sophistication. Archaeologists found a tidal dockyard measuring 222 meters long and 37 meters wide. A trapezoidal basin with inlet and outlet channels managed tidal flow. A 240-meter platform allowed cargo handling. The design is ingenious. By opening sluice gates at high tide, vessels entered the basin. As the tide receded, water dropped, allowing ships to rest. Repairs and unloading proceeded without lifting the vessel. When the tide returned, sluice gates opened, refloating the ship. This was hydraulic engineering that would not be replicated in the Mediterranean for thousands of years. Grid-planned cities, standardized bricks, universal plumbing, standardized weights and measures, advanced dental procedures, a writing system, international maritime trade. This is not a primitive society. This is sophisticated, technical knowledge. And yet the absence is profound. No temples, no palaces, no monumental statuary, no inscriptions glorifying rulers, no administrative records. It is as if they deliberately chose not to leave records of authority. Some scholars propose the Indus Valley was fundamentally egalitarian. The standardization of weights and measures represented a collective agreement. Governance may have been distributed among merchant guilds rather than kings. Religious practices were household-based. The absence of monumental art reflected a different value system, one that prioritized collective utility over elite display. In Egypt, the state built pyramids. In Mesopotamia, the state built ziggurats. In the Indus Valley, the state built sewers. This cannot be proven, but the material record is consistent with a unique hypothesis. A major civilization organized around egalitarian principles. A civilization that achieved complexity without monarchy. A civilization that valued infrastructure over propaganda. The Indus Valley represents an alternative path for human development, a path not followed later, a path that ultimately failed. What happened to them? Around 1800 BCE, the civilization began to decline. Over several centuries, the great cities shrank. The quality of construction declined. Smaller settlements persisted, but the unified civilization fragmented. By 1300 BCE, the civilization as a unified entity had ceased to exist. The causes are multiple. Climate change is one. The Gagar-Hakra River gradually dried up between 2200 and 1800 BCE. Without reliable water, agriculture failed. Tectonic activity disrupted the civilization. Earthquake evidence from sites like Dolavira suggests seismic disruption around 2200 BCE. Trade network collapse is another factor. The decline of the Akkadian Empire and weakening of Egyptian power may have disrupted the trade network sustaining the Indus Valley. Scholars no longer accept the invasion theory. The so-called Aryan invasion theory has been discarded by genetic evidence and archaeology. There are no destruction layers at Indus sites. There is no evidence of warfare. There is no evidence of conquest. The decline was internal, economic, and environmental. The civilization exhausted itself, or it was exhausted by forces beyond its control. The mystery is what the sealed texts would tell us. Did the script record stories of kings, religious cosmologies, merchant guilds, legal codes, poetry? We cannot read them. The regions where the Indus Valley flourished are now divided between India and Pakistan. Since 1947, research has been fragmented. Sites cannot be easily accessed across borders. The civilization, already erased by an undeciphered script, faces a second erasure through political division. We know the Indus Valley civilization existed. We know it was sophisticated. We know it traded with distant lands. We know it valued standardization and order. We know it built cities with running water and municipal sewers when most of the world lived in villages. But we do not know who governed it. We do not know what gods they worshipped. We do not know what songs they sang or stories they told. We do not know why they disappeared. And we do not know if the sealed texts would answer these questions, because the texts are sealed. They have been sealed for over 3,000 years, and in all of recorded history, no one has found the key.